Fractions to percents. Well, a percent is a special ratio whose second term is 100. The denominator is 100 for a percent. And the word percent is Latin, and it comes from the Latin word per centum, which means per 100. So how would you change a fraction into a percent? To change a fraction into a percent, you can use a proportion. So if you were asked to change 13/25 into a percent, this would be really easy to find an equivalent ratio for 13/25. We could simply multiply the denominator by 4 to get 100, multiply the numerator by 4 to get 52. So 13/25 would be 52%. If the denominator of a fraction is a factor of 100, then it's so easy to convert fractions into percents. These are all factors of 100. So if the denominator is any one of these, and we'll take a look at that right here. If you look at these, all the denominators, these are all factors of 100. These are all numbers that would divide evenly into 100. And I like to call these easy button questions because they're so easy to convert into fractions. Finding an equivalent ratio for 3/2 would be easy. We just multiply each by 50. 1/4, super easy. Just multiply times 25, be 25%. 3/5, very easy. Just multiply by 20. Now sometimes if you simplify the fraction, these are easy button questions as well. For example, 6/24, if you simplify it to 1/4, well, that's an easy button question. Converting 1/4 into a percent, piece of cake. So the easiest way to learn these is actually do a few. So let's look at 3/5. If you were asked to convert 3/5 into a percent, piece of cake to turn into an equivalent fraction. I'd do 5 times 20, 3 times 20. So 3/5 is equal to 60 over 100. Therefore, it'd be 60%. 5/4, easy to turn into a percent. Simply multiply the numerator and denominator by 25. This is 125 over 100, and this would actually be 125%. 17/20, these are all easy button questions. 20 times 5 is 100. Do the top times 5. That'd be 85%. 3/10, really easy to turn into a percent. We would multiply it times 10, multiply the numerator times 10. So 3/10 would be 30%. Here's another easy one, another easy button. 50 times 2 is 100, so we're going to multiply the numerator times 2. That'd be 94 hundredths, which would be 94%. Because remember, all percents are out of 100. And the last one, to find an equivalent ratio for 22/25, simply multiply each the numerator and denominator by 4, and that would be 88%. Now these are also easy button questions. All you have to do is simplify them first. So 14/70, if I divide each one, the numerator and denominator, by 7, I would end up with 2/10 and 2/10. 10's an easy one to convert. Tenths are easy to convert into hundredths. Multiply by 10. So 14/70 would be 20%. For this last example here, 27/36, it's actually an easy button. You could divide each one by 9, which would be 3/4. And again, really easy to convert into an equivalent ratio. So that'd be 75%. Okay, let's just do a few application questions. So Jimmy got 4 out of 20 on his test, and he wants to know what his grade is. Well, what's his percentage? What did he get out of 100%? This is an easy button. Well, unfortunately for Jimmy, he only got a 20% on that test. So maybe he'd have better luck on his next one. And he did. Looks like he did. He got an 18 out of 25 on this test. And he wants to know, well, what is that out of 100%? Again, it's an easy button. And 18 times 4 would be 72. So 72 over 100 is equal to 72%. So he did, well, a little bit better on that one. He passed. Now in the next exam, he got an 18 out of 30. At first glance, it looks like you can't use the easy button, but if you were to simplify this by dividing each by 3, that would be 6 over 10, and that would be a piece of cake to turn into an equivalent fraction. So unfortunately for Jimmy, he got a 60% on this one. And we'll look at one final example. Jimmy got a 36 out of 40 on a test. What is his grade? Well, I think Jimmy did pretty well on this one. Whoops. Actually, on this one, you could actually multiply 40 times 2.5 and the top times 2.5. But let's simplify that. If you would divide each one by 4, that'd be 9/10. And 9/10, piece of cake to turn into an equivalent ratio. That would be 90 over 100. So Jimmy did very well on that last one. Now there is yet a different way of converting fractions to percents where you cross multiply, and we're actually going to explore that one in another video. But that's how you turn basic fractions into percents.